You felt it before even if you didn't have a name for it. A doll with eyes that seem to follow you a little too closely. A humanoid robot that moves almost perfectly except for one small hesitation in its smile. A face on a screen that looks real until it blinks at the wrong moment. Something in your stomach tightens. You can't explain why. But the real answer is far stranger than simple fear because that feeling has a name, a science, and a very good evolutionary reason for existing. It's called the Uncanny Valley, and it's happening inside your brain far more often than you realize. The term comes from a Japanese robotics professor named Masahiro Mori, who noticed something strange back in 1970 while studying how people emotionally respond to robots. As a robot becomes more human-like, Mori observed, people tend to like it more. A cute round robot with big eyes feels friendly. A robot with human proportions and an expressive face feels even more relatable. But at some point, right before a robot becomes almost indistinguishable from a real person, something flips. Instead of increasing warmth, the response crashes into revulsion. Mori called this dip in emotional comfort the uncanny valley, because if you graft lickability against human likeness, it looks exactly like that. A steady climb, then a sudden, deep valley, right before the graph climbs back up toward real human faces. Here's what makes this genuinely strange. It's not the robots that look obviously fake that disturb you. It's the ones that almost pass as human but not quite. A cartoon character doesn't bother you. A hyper-realistic CGI face with slightly wrong eye movement absolutely does. Why would something closer to human trigger more discomfort than something obviously artificial? To answer that, researchers had to look past robotics entirely and into something much older: your brain's threat detection system. Psychologist Carl MacDorman spent years studying uncanny valley reactions in controlled experiments, testing how people respond to faces along a spectrum from clearly cartoonish to nearly photorealistic. His research consistently found the same pattern Mori predicted decades earlier, but MacDorman pushed further, asking a deeper question. What is your brain actually detecting when something feels almost, but not quite human? One leading theory ties directly back to survival. Your brain evolved an extremely sensitive system for detecting subtle signs of illness, injury, or death in other humans, because throughout most of human history, staying close to a sick or dying person could get you killed too. A slightly wrong facial expression, an unnatural stillness, skin that doesn't move quite right, these are the exact same visual cues your ancestors needed to notice instantly in order to avoid disease or danger. Researchers studying disgust and disease avoidance behavior have found that human faces showing subtle abnormalities, even ones too small to consciously name, trigger the same disgust circuitry associated with illness and decay. Think about what that means. When you look at an almost human robot or CGI face, part of your brain isn't thinking robot. Part of your brain is running an ancient diagnostic scan, and it's returning results that look uncomfortably close to something is wrong with this person. Not artificial. Wrong, sick, possibly dead. Your unease isn't really about technology at all. It's a 500,000-year-old alarm system misfiring on modern silicone and pixels. Here's the twist that makes this even stranger. This effect isn't limited to robots. It shows up constantly in your everyday life in places you've probably never connected to Mori's original research. Think about a photograph where someone's smile looks slightly frozen, or a video call where the audio and lip movement are milliseconds out of sync, or an AI-generated image of a person with a hand that has one finger too many. Each of these triggers a small, immediate discomfort before you've consciously identified what's wrong. Researcher Thalia Wheatley, who has studied how the brain processes facial expressions, found that humans are extraordinarily fast and precise at detecting tiny inconsistencies in facial movement, often faster than conscious awareness can keep up with. Your brain notices the wrongness before you do. This is exactly why deepfake videos, even highly advanced ones, often still feel subtly off to viewers, even when they can't articulate why. The blinking pattern is slightly too regular. The lighting on the skin doesn't shift quite naturally when the head turns. Your ancient threat detection system catches these details instantly, long before your conscious mind finishes analyzing the footage. Now think about how relevant this has become. As artificial intelligence generates more human faces, more human voices, more human movement, you are essentially walking straight into the deepest part of the uncanny valley on a near-daily basis. Every AI-generated avatar, every synthetic voice assistant edging closer to natural speech, every increasingly lifelike video game character is a small test of the exact same ancient alarm system Mori first mapped out using robots. That's the modern mirror hiding inside this whole phenomenon. You assume your discomfort around artificial humans is a new 21st century problem, something invented by advancing technology. It isn't. Technology simply built something powerful enough to finally trigger a detection system that's been sitting inside your brain since long before robots, screens, or cameras ever existed. The valley was always there. Humanity just needed to get good enough at building almost human things to finally fall into it. So the next time a face on your screen makes your stomach quietly tighten, even for half a second, notice what's actually happening. You're not being irrational. You're not overreacting to something silly like a video game character's eyes. You're running the same ancient scan your ancestors relied on to survive, still checking every face you see for the tiniest sign that something underneath the surface isn't quite right. You felt it before, even if you didn't have a name for it. Now you know it was never really about robots or screens at all. It was your oldest instincts, still working exactly as they were built to, just meeting a world your ancestors never could have imagined.